So I decided to put the inner Betty Crocker to work, which is apparently not such a Betty Crocker. You will find that out as you watch the video, but these are no-bake chocolate oat squares. So here are the main ingredients that you will need. Butter, which then I used vanilla yogurt as a substitute for, dark brown sugar, quick cooking oats, vanilla extract, peanut butter. I went for the crunchy natural stuff, and dark chocolate, which you can either use semi-sweet or chocolate chip or milk chocolate. I'm not very good at this today. My amateur mistake was not having the ingredients in their ready measurements or having any of my measurement materials out, which made me a little bit stressed throughout this whole thing. So going forward, I would suggest having everything set out and ready before you actually start baking. So you're going to want to grease your pan. I'm using a vegetable oil, which is just a little bit healthier than like an artificial spray or butter. So the recipe actually calls for 4 cups of butter. Not 4 cups, 1 cup. Yikes. But even 1 cup is yikes. So I put in some butter, but then decided to substitute it with vanilla yogurt. And here I'm acting like there's some kind of freaking foreign object on my finger that is like poop or something. I will be fine. So then, yes, I substitute it for vanilla yogurt, which is something that Google had suggested, though it actually suggested plain yogurt, but I only had vanilla, and I think the vanilla actually made it too sweet. I mean, I'm no cook. I'm no Betty Crocker, but I think that's why my recipe may have turned out too sweet. And of course, what would cooking with Natalie be without dropping yogurt down the stove? In this recipe, it calls for half a cup of brown sugar, which worked out fine, except I repeated the recipe twice, doing half the amount the second time, and accidentally put a half cup in the second time instead of a quarter cup, but it still turned out fine, so hey, why not? And it's vanilla time. These stupid friggin' spoons. I have so much trouble because they're so old and I can barely read if it says tablespoon or teaspoon. Only if it's in like exact with the light. That made no sense. Anyway, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. You were tossing these first 3-4 ingredients in on medium heat, by the way. You are then going to stir this mix on it stays on medium heat, and then you're going to let it sit for 2 to 3 minutes on low heat, which is why I'm turning it down now. Right, that makes sense. Now it's on to the oatmeal part. So it's 3 cups of quick cooking oatmeal. Yeah, that's all I had to say. And you're tossing it in while it's on low heat for 2 to 3 minutes. Stir it up so it's all absorbed, and I believe that process should take about 3 minutes, and just letting it sit for a couple to fully absorb everything. Oh, and then of course I dropped freaking oatmeal down the stove again, so I had to use a fork to get it out. That's what it should look like, all absorbed. I think anyway, maybe I'm wrong, who knows. The recipe then calls you to put half of the amount and spread it evenly in the bottom of the pan. I put half the amount in and spread it out, but I didn't put on the whole pan because I didn't think I'd have enough. And then you're supposed to crumble the second half of it on top after the recipe's done. But what I realized is I could have actually done more than half of it in the pan in this moment and spread it out throughout the whole bottom of the pan. It calls for a 9x9 pan. I don't know what the heck this pan is. But anyway, it ended up really thick at the bottom anyway. So, amateur first timers mistake, I guess. So this is where my camera died, and while I was waiting for my computer to charge and boot up, I threw in dark chocolate chips, which was 1 cup or half a cup, I can't remember, and the equivalent amount of peanut butter. You just mix it up until it's all mixed in on the stove, and then you pour it over top of your mixture. There actually was so much. I could have gotten away with half the amount. There was a ton. It overflowed. And even once it had fully, the whole thing had been done in the fridge and everything, that makes no sense. But anyway, the chocolate part was so thick. You were then going to take the rest of the oatmeal and crumble it on top, which is what the recipe actually says. I tried to do it with a spoon and then realized my fingers are going to be way easier. So if I offend anyone, I'm sorry. But I was the only one who ate it anyway, so oh well. But crumbling on is so much easier than trying to use this freaking spoon. Oh, ready? Slow-mo. The best part about cooking for yourself is licking your fingers. And there is the final product ready to go in the fridge. On a side note, it is criminal to tease someone with a recipe and then make them put them in the fridge for 3 hours. So like I said before, I repeated the recipe again, putting everything in half because I didn't have enough oatmeal, and then used the rest of the chocolate chips and cranberries instead of peanut butter because I wanted to see if that would taste better, and it does. I liked my second batch much better, but I was stressing because I had way less chocolate than I thought. I was like scraping that bowl clean. I was stressing that I wasn't going to have enough chocolate, but now that it's done refrigerating and I've eaten it, I actually like this batch way better because it is a lot less chocolatey. It doesn't make you sick to your stomach from the sweetness. Three hours later, here is the final product. No Betty Crocker by any means. I mean, it's edible, it's yummy. I wouldn't make it to serve at a party, but I mean, it was fun. It entertained me, so why not?